After being married to my wife for 11 years and having two kids aged 11 and 9, I discovered that she had been unfaithful for 8 months, with me only becoming aware of it during the last 3 months. I am still in the process of working through this situation and am seeking further guidance and support. I have found valuable help and insights from this community. To summarize, I confronted my wife with evidence, including video proof and a separation agreement prepared by a lawyer about 9 months ago, an event I refer to as D-Day. Despite my initial decision that divorce was the only solution upon discovering her infidelity, I am still in the process of evaluating my options. In a recent conversation with my wife following this discovery, she expressed feeling scared and confused, which left me emotionally drained and indifferent to the situation. Your unfaithfulness has been revealed to me. I am taking steps to start the process of separating and divorcing. I placed my wedding ring on top of the folder containing the separation agreement and slid it in front of her. The wife began sobbing, pleading, apologizing, and begging, but we couldn't make any progress. I rejected all her attempts to justify her actions. Despite loving you, you have caused me immense pain by betraying me with other men in the name of love. After a few hours, I instructed her to stay in a hotel for the night, and we would resume our discussion the next day. I warned her that if she didn't sign the separation agreement, I would publicly reveal her actions. She signed under pressure as I just wanted the ordeal to be over. She left, and I was bombarded with messages and calls all night. I responded briefly, stating that I wouldn't engage until the following afternoon. The next day, the gravity of the situation became clear to her, and she begged for another chance. Marriage counseling and reconciliation were on the table. She expressed willingness to do whatever it takes. I gave her a deadline of 90 days to show me that divorce was not the answer, even though I had already made up my mind to end the marriage. I felt a moment of weakness and offered her this chance. The next day, I created a list of requirements for her to follow in order to salvage our relationship. While I didn't show her the list, I made it clear that her compliance was essential for us to maintain contact beyond co-parenting our children. I emphasized that if she didn't adhere to the list, divorce was inevitable, and I would disclose her actions to others. I expressed that even if she met all the requirements, it didn't guarantee we would stay together, as my trust in her had hit rock bottom and my love for her had faded due to her actions. The main reason I was considering reconciliation was for the sake of our children, although I found it hard to admit. Despite my initial decision, I struggled to follow through because of this underlying motivation. The list of requirements included being honest and creating a document detailing her actions with 1. He asked her to explain how it all began. He questioned what empowered her to inflict this upon him and their children. Should she evade accountability, distort reality, or show no remorse, his efforts would cease. 2. Complete access to her social media, phones, computer, income, and financial statements was required. 3. She was to provide constant updates on her whereabouts and activities. 4. She would undergo individual therapy sessions 2 to 3 times weekly before embarking on marriage counseling to comprehend her decisions. She complied, drafted the list, and granted access. Subsequently, he disclosed points 5 through 7 gradually after each task was completed. 5. She must meet the other person's spouse in person, disclose all details, surrender evidence, and offer to testify in court if necessary. Initially reluctant, she claimed she couldn't betray him. It was emphasized that she was prioritizing the other person's emotions over her family by hesitating. The reconciliation would end if this step was not taken, requiring him to inform the other person's spouse. If she faltered, I couldn't bring myself to take ownership of the situation. I lacked the willingness to do so. If I were to confess to her, it would eliminate any chance of reconciliation. Despite this, she ultimately agreed and went ahead to disclose everything to the wife of the other person, AP. The AP's wife reacted with physical violence towards her by slapping, kicking, and pulling her hair while screaming at her. The wife endured the assault without retaliating, and I failed to protect her. She suffered injuries, including cuts and bald spots. Afterwards in the car, I revealed to her that the AP was involved with another woman, besides my wife, providing evidence from a private investigator I had hired. Regrettably, I derived pleasure from witnessing her anguish upon realizing that she meant nothing more than an object to him. She had to face the challenge of explaining the situation to our children, as well as foresee the potential impact on our family and the need to justify her actions to our relatives and friends. For 3 months, I engaged in an affair, deceiving her, being dishonest to her face, sneaking around behind her back, and forming a deep emotional connection with another woman. I felt it was necessary for her to comprehend the level of humiliation she had requested me to forgive after the 3 months were up. I planned to be completely honest with her. The task of acting as if I were cheating, especially during scenario number 7, was incredibly challenging for both of us. I would covertly navigate around, indicating that I was being unfaithful. I made sure she caught glimpses of Tinder on my phone and pretended to engage in secretive texting. I would disappear for entire nights or weekends, supposedly with someone else. However, in reality, I spent my time alone in hotels, cabins, and airlines, drowning my sorrows in alcohol and tears. Witnessing my wife's increasing distress deeply pained me as well. Although I struggled through the charade, my wife seemed to handle the situation effortlessly, which made me question my perception of her. Rather than demonstrating what she wished for me to understand, I came to comprehend the extreme cruelty involved in such behavior. We are now seeking assistance through marriage counseling, and she is showing signs of improvement. I'm struggling a bit. Some days are tougher than others, I suppose. I have the divorce papers ready, but for some reason I haven't taken that step yet. Our lack of intimacy and closeness is concerning, although we are no longer fighting, which feels like a small step forward. She has been very apologetic, and I know we have a long road ahead. It's hard for me to move past how hurt I felt when I was pretending, while she seemed unaffected. I can't see her in a positive light. She feels like a monster to me. I wish I had ended things right at the beginning. But now that we've come this far, I struggle to see a way past this negative perception of her. I have forgiven other things, but this one is particularly difficult for me. I recently confessed to her that I hadn't actually been seeing anyone else. I couldn't keep up the charade for more than 7 weeks, and it weighed heavily on me. Thank you for all the insights and advice. I will try to reflect on them and see if I can make any progress. I'll provide an update in a few weeks. If possible, the previous system for selecting top comments is currently not functioning. In the past, I used to ponder whether the reason he cheated while I didn't was simply due to the opportunity he had, which I didn't feel tempted by in the same manner. However, I have come to realize, as you have, that infidelity comprises numerous deliberate acts of disrespect towards you. The mere thought of it repulses you. Despite all the lying, manipulation, and gaslighting she engaged in towards you, your family, and friends, she continued down that path. It may be why you have hesitated to finalize the divorce papers for so long, to bring closure to what she initiated. Divorce doesn't mark the end of a marriage. The infidelity already did. I share your sentiments, but for some reason, I find it challenging to take that final step. I now see her as a monster, and I'm unsure if I can alter that perception. This is something I plan to address in counseling. Thank you for your guidance. If you engage a marriage counselor, it is usually within their expertise interest in maintaining the relationship between the couple is important. If you do not currently have an individual counselor, I recommend considering it as it can provide an unbiased perspective. I'd offered the cheating partner the choice to end the marriage, and they decided to do so. Perhaps the focus should not so much be on who initiates the separation, but rather on how long one should endure a failing marriage in hopes of fixing it. I have decided to seek counseling for myself. If ending the relationship was the solution rather than causing pain as a form of revenge, it should have been done sooner. It takes a certain mindset to find pleasure in others' suffering. While it was difficult, I initially believed that hurting the other person would bring me some form of relief, but ultimately it only caused damage to myself. I struggle with nightmares related to pretending to cheat, and even worse dreams of actually cheating on some nights. I am deeply sorry that you experienced betrayal, and I hope you can find a path towards peace. It might be beneficial to have an open conversation with your partner to express how deeply you were affected by the betrayal. and then make a decision to end the relationship in order to regain your mental well-being. Your partner may also have experienced. He needs to fully understand the consequences of her actions in order to have a chance at healing. Trying to force the situation will only bring more pain. He has spoken to her about it before, but she has tried to downplay it. He feels a lack of trust and belief in her, which is why he is still trying to make her see the impact of her actions. It's important for him to confront this now. Regarding the next story, his ex, a 28-year-old woman, reached out to him after almost 2 months of no contact, apologizing and asking for another chance. However, she had hurt him significantly when she left and throughout their time together. He is unsure if he should let her back into his life. In their relationship of almost 7 years, she abruptly ended things, ignoring him for months before finally leaving him to deal with the pain alone. He acknowledges his mistake in not leaving sooner, but never wanted to lose the woman he loved deeply in love with her. She was a volatile individual who seemed to find reasons to start conflicts constantly. For instance, I once made the mistake of crossing the road without her, which led to a dramatic outburst in public where she pushed me away, swore at me, and then gave me the silent treatment for hours until she finally apologized. Another time, she flew into a rage because she thought I had killed a spider in her room, displaying the same pattern of extreme reactions followed by a complete shutdown. Her default response was always, "This is how I feel, I can't control it," without making any effort to address her behavior. She displayed manipulative and controlling tendencies, leaving me feeling unable to express my own thoughts or opinions. Any disagreement with her would result in her overreacting and becoming irrationally upset, making it impossible to communicate effectively. Ultimately, it felt like I wasn't allowed to have a different perspective or voice any criticism without setting her off. She resented that I spent time with my friends, yet never made an effort to get to know them. Despite my invitations for her to join us, she had decided that she didn't like my friends as they stole me away from her. This belief led her to constantly accuse me of prioritizing them over her, despite it not being the case. Her constant anger stemmed from her tumultuous home life with an alcoholic, emotionally and verbally abusive father, and unfortunately, I became a target for her frustrations. She never communicated effectively when upset, often resorting to name-calling and physical aggression towards me. Instead of acknowledging her actions, she would demand apologies from me for her own emotional outbursts. While she never apologized for her hurtful actions, her defense was always that she couldn't control her feelings. Can I ever forget that? "You caused this," and I'd always apologize. I'd tell her it's all right when it truly wasn't. I had to hold back my true feelings because deep down, I still cared for her and hoped she'd change for the better. She wanted me to read her mind instead of openly communicating, then got upset if I didn't fulfill her unspoken desires. Whenever I liked something she didn't, she'd dismiss it as stupid. She'd withhold "I love you" and any affection when angry. I was extremely patient and understanding, even though she had many issues, but I should never have tolerated the emotional abuse. She had no problem not speaking to me for a day, while I struggled to go a few minutes without replying. She wasn't good at texting, often taking hours to respond, yet would be upset with me if I didn't reply immediately when COVID arrived. She completely shut down and experienced one of the worst moments of her life. During this tumultuous time, she lost her job of nearly a decade and had to navigate her father's struggle with alcoholism, which resulted in him almost dying from a coma, only to return to drinking upon his recovery. This situation took a heavy toll on her, especially considering the fact that I couldn't be there to support her. She was very cautious about not meeting in person to ensure the safety of her mother, which I completely understood. Despite both of us testing negative for the virus, there was no physical contact during the few encounters we had. It was disappointing for both of us. She eventually informed me that I shouldn't visit anymore, and she wouldn't be visiting either. With the ongoing pandemic showing no signs of ending soon, she convinced herself that there was no point in waiting for a reunion. As time passed, she grew increasingly irritable and started arguments just to avoid talking to me throughout the day. She also became upset with her father and brother for not observing proper social distancing practices, was angry with me for no reason. She tried to make me jealous by talking about a new musician she liked and working out. I was proud of her for taking care of herself, but she would put me down by saying hurtful things. She would also check my social media messages every day, even though I had nothing to hide. It hurt to be accused of things I didn't do. Our fights got worse when she started making racist comments towards me because of my race. Despite trying to explain my point of view, she didn't understand. The situation became even more tense during the protests when she dismissed their importance. I tried to explain the reasons behind the protests, but she only focused on the negative aspects. Betrayal is a significant issue. I mentioned to her that I planned to participate in a protest at some point, and her immediate response was, "Why don't you go find yourself a little black girlfriend then?" I mean, who on earth says something like that? It genuinely made me angry for the first time in my life. I expressed to her that it was perhaps the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard her say, and since that day she harbored animosity towards me. She began to display excessive pride in her Latina identity and engaged in petty behavior to provoke me, such as randomly sending messages like, "Oh, by the way, when I get married, I want to take my mom's last name because I want to preserve my Hispanic heritage," despite previously expressing excitement about taking my last name. During one encounter, I brought my dog to see her when she dropped off some food, and my dog became overly excited, barking and pulling on the leash. I jokingly told my dog to calm down. "Puta, you're going to hurt yourself," and that upset my ex. Immediately, she gave me a disgusted look and said, "I don't think I can have children with someone who would speak to a dog in that manner." Ellen though. It's ironic how she reacted strongly to me jokingly calling my dog a B, yet she had no issue calling me hurtful names during our arguments. Despite everything, I still cared deeply. When she opened up to me, she confessed that she recognized the root of our frequent fights and admitted that she was often to blame for starting them. She realized that she might benefit from therapy, acknowledging her issues. It wasn't a fabrication. She was genuinely in love with me. However, during our time apart, she discovered her feelings had changed. She made it clear that it wasn't my fault, and that I had been an exceptional boyfriend and an incredible person overall. She expressed that she didn't feel worthy of the love and support I gave her. She recognized her tendency to be angry and to vent her frustrations on me, admitting, "You love me wholeheartedly, but I can't reciprocate that love. I can't provide you with the love and care you deserve. Love someone who makes you happy, and I know I am toxic for you." She messaged me yesterday asking if we could talk, saying she was really sorry and wanted to see if I would want to work things out. But honestly, the damage has already been done. I love her endlessly, but I am no toy. She treated me like crap constantly, and I'd always forgave her. I don't think she deserves another chance in my life. It would be pretty stupid to let her back into my life right now. For the top advice, she sounds like a nightmare. The timing suggests she chased someone else, and he sent her back into the dating pool. So welcome to being her backup plan. You take her back, every bit of pain lost is on you. So are you that masochistic? A nightmare indeed, one that I don't ever want to fall back asleep into. I probably shouldn't even respond. Why would I willingly drink that poison again? Holy crap. Well, replace 90% of what you wrote, and I endured that for almost 25 years. Wow. I'm white, she's Latino, well half. She left me for another guy. Yes, but I know for a fact that that guy will dump her in about 60 days. We aren't there yet. I just filed. This is my first day, and she's dating him. I've talked with a lot of friends, females gossip, and he's broken up numerous marriages and people splitting up. He's a dog and just going to use her. But I hope karma kicks her in the butt. I won't live my life being abused like that again. Don't go back, please. Wow, man, 25 years dealing with someone like that. I am sincerely sorry you had to go through that for so long. That's so crappy how she left for someone else. But like you said, karma will probably come around and bite her in the freaking butt. I'm glad you got out of that abusive relationship, even if it wasn't really your decision. As for the guy, F that trash. I won't allow myself to be your doormat again. Living life, walking on eggshells is no way to live. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone.